Look who's passed her test, finally! Hi guys, so today I want to sit down and properly talk about my full UK driving test journey. Honestly, when I first started this whole process, I was very confused, overwhelmed, scared, procrastinating, all of it. And now that I finally passed and got my full UK driving license in my hand, I genuinely want to make the kind of video that I wish somebody made for me when I started. Not just, oh, here's how I passed first time, but no, I want to actually explain how the process works, what nobody tells you, what mistakes I made, what finally made me pass, how theory works, how practical works, how many faults you can get, what to expect on that day, because that's really important, and how to mentally survive this whole journey, because trust me, driving in the UK is not easy. And yes, I finally passed my third attempt. So if you failed before, or you were scared to start, or if you feel behind compared to everybody else, this video is for you. So first thing you need is provisional license. Before anything, you need to apply for getting your provisional driving license card, because without that, you cannot book your theory test or your practical test. So you have to apply through the gov.uk official website. And honestly, after that, I personally recommend getting your theory done before starting practical lessons. That's exactly how I approached it. I passed my theory in September 2024 before I even start my driving lessons. And I'm genuinely happy I did it that way, because by the time I started driving, I already understood road signs, junction priorities, road markings, stopping distances, hazard awareness, and general road rules, which honestly saves you time, stress, and probably lesson money too. So for my theory test, I revised for about 1 month. The theory test has 2 parts, multiple choice questions and hazard perception. For the multiple choice question section, you get 50 questions and you need 43 to pass. For hazard perception, you watch 14 clips and you need 44 out of 75 to pass. The official DVSA recommends studying the highway code, know your traffic signs, driving, the essential skills. You can get all of those online now through gov.uk theory test revision resources. But I personally bought the highway code book because I love physical books, but honestly nowadays apps are enough. And the best thing I did for my theory was buying the official DVSA theory test kit app. I know I said I read the book, but this app is mandatory because it has the past papers, it has the mock tests. The app carried me literally, with all the mock tests, practice questions, hazard perception clips, revision sections, progress tracking, everything. And what helped me most was doing mock tests over and over again. So every time I got something wrong, I wrote it down, I revised it, and I watched some YouTube explanations. And if I still didn't understand something, I literally memorized it. And honestly, that's okay, because your goal before theory should be, when I walk into the test room, I want to know I genuinely prepared properly. And with this approach, I got 49 out of 50 in the multiple choice, but hazard perception nearly finished me. That part was hard, so let me give you the biggest hazard perception tip. You are not clicking when you see the hazard. You click when the hazard starts developing. That's the key difference. A lot of people use the 3-click method. Click once, wait, click once, maybe one more time, because if you click too early, you can lose points. But do not spam click randomly, because the system may flag you. And please practice hazard perception in full screen. Train your eyes to constantly scan for pedestrians, cyclists, parked cars, brake lights, side roads, crossings, cars pulling out, bus. The more clips you practice, the more natural it becomes. Now, after passing theory in September 2024, did I immediately start driving lessons? Nope. I was genuinely scared. I kept making excuses like, oh, I don't even have a car, I don't even have a plan to buy one anytime soon, what's the point? But honestly, deep down, I was just terrified of driving on real roads. Then one of my friends started lessons and she kept telling me it's honestly not as scary as you think. And that finally pushed me to start. So I searched for driving schools and I found Adam's Driver Trainer here in Manchester. They basically assign you an instructor in your area. Then my instructor contacted me and booked my first lesson in March 2025. And honestly, the first lesson was nowhere near as scary as I imagined. At the beginning, they usually keep you on quieter roads and do left turns, steering, moving off, stopping, mirrors, positioning, basic things. So my lessons were 2 hours long and it was around £68 in total. And another thing people don't realize is that your instructor literally picks you up from your house. And later, once you improve, they start taking you around your chosen test center routes. Now let me tell you, probably the biggest tip in this entire video. Book your test early. Do not wait until you feel ready for the practical test. Trust me, I booked my first lesson in March 2025, okay? And the earliest available date for the test, when I checked, it was August. It was 5 months after my first lessons. And then in August, 2 weeks before my test, DVSA emailed me saying that my test got rescheduled to October because the examiner became unavailable. I was so annoyed. I even called them and they basically said, sorry, October is the earliest available date now. Which meant more waiting, more stress, more money, more lessons. So seriously, book early. Even after your first few lessons, if possible, book it, because getting test slots in the UK right now is genuinely very difficult. And yes, sometimes instructors help learners find cancellation slots earlier for extra money. Honestly, it does sometimes feel like a little black market because ideally the system should be better, but right now cancellation services and instructors helping with earlier slots are extremely common because availability is so bad. Just make sure you use trusted people, never pay random strangers, and your booking stays officially linked to DVSA. Let's talk about whether you choose automatic or manual. This decision delayed me starting my lessons because I kept overthinking it, but honestly, after researching and thinking realistically about my future, I chose automatic. And I don't regret it at all. Most modern cars are automatic nowadays anyway, especially hybrids and electric cars. And personally, I already knew I'd probably hate clutch and gears. So I thought, why spend more money and extra hours learning something that I realistically don't even want? But there is no better option. Choose based on your goals, your confidence, your lifestyle, and what kind of driving you actually plan to do. And do not let anyone influence your decision on this, because I've heard a lot of people say automatic is for losers, but it's not. It's just easy. It's more convenient. And it's, 2026, come on. So before lessons, I genuinely had no idea how the practical test worked. So let me explain to you. The test is around 40 minutes long, and during it, you'll usually do normal road driving, junctions, roundabouts, parking maneuvers, independent driving, and show me, tell me questions. Now, this part is very important. You are allowed up to 15 minor mistakes, but one serious fault or one dangerous fault means automatic failure, straight fail, okay? But they let you drive. They let you drive and complete your 40 minutes. But know that one big mistake is game over. And serious faults are usually related to safety, observations, lane discipline, traffic signals, road markings. So remember, safe driving matters more than perfect driving. A lot of learners think the whole test is just following sat-nav. No, it's not. Part of the test is called independent driving, and this can happen through sat-nav or road signs, following road signs. For my first 2 tests, it was half sat-nav and half the examiner verbally giving instructions and directions. But during my final test, they actually made me follow road signs for the independent driving part. So there was no sat-nav tom-tom for the final test that I did. So remember to practice that, because honestly, people do not practice this enough. Everyone focuses too much on tom-tom sat-nav, but you also need to practice reading signs quickly, lane positioning, and staying calm while following directions. Then there is show me, tell me questions. Honestly, these are not a huge deal. Your instructor should teach you all of this with the exact car that you're planning to drive in your test. So the examples are how to demist windows, how to wash the windscreen, how to check oil, how headlights work, how you have to measure your tire pressure, these things. But you don't have to go and show them the tire pressure, how you do it. You just tell them how you do it. And if you get one wrong, it's usually just one minor fault. So if you get the show me question wrong, you get one minor. If you get the tell me question wrong, you will get minor. So don't panic too much about them, because answering them wrong, it's not a failure anyway. Okay, now let me be honest with you. Before lessons, I had never driven ever before in my life. And after around 20 hours of lessons, which is equivalent to 10 sessions, I had technically learned most driving skills already. But knowing how to drive in your head is completely different from driving calmly under pressure on busy roads. That takes much longer, and honestly, for many people, becoming truly test ready can easily take around 60, 70 plus hours depending on confidence and experience. For me personally, big roundabouts and right turns at busy junctions were the hardest. So what helped me massively was watching YouTube videos specifically about the things I struggled with. Before almost every lesson, I remember I watched around 1 hour of videos and revised my notes. Because driving situations happen fast. Your reactions need to become automatic. One thing I personally don't recommend is learning maneuvers from random YouTube videos. For things like parallel parking or bay parking or reverse parking, for these ones, do not watch YouTube videos. That's my experience. So trust your instructor's reference points, because every instructor teaches differently depending on the car, seating position, mirrors, angles, height. And most people take the test in the instructor's cars anyway. So fully learn how to do maneuvers with that car properly and learn the reference points with that car. Because on YouTube videos, you will get confused because everyone is doing it differently. So trust your instructor on those ones. So, October 2025 was my first practical test, and I failed. My serious faults were related to road markings, traffic signals, and a right turn involving a yellow box junction. Honestly, everything happens so fast during the test that afterwards you barely even remember what happened and what was your mistake. But I learned something huge. If you're unsure, do not force things. Then I took my second test in December 2025, and sadly I failed again. This time I realized too late that I needed a right lane for a turn, and instead of safely accepting it, I forced the lane change. Big mistake. And this taught me one of the biggest driving lessons ever. If you miss a turn, miss it. If you're in the wrong lane, stay there safely. You can literally tell the examiner, sorry, it wasn't safe to move over, and that's completely okay. Safety matters way more than perfectly following directions. If you miss a lane change, do not force yourself, because you will fail for that. But if you stay where you are and tell them that, sorry, I missed it, then you would probably get a minor, not a major. So after failing the second time, I honestly felt embarrassed, frustrated, annoyed at myself, especially telling family and friends I failed again. I took a little break over New Year. Then I booked my third test for May 2026, very recently. And this is what genuinely made the biggest difference. Back-to-back lessons just before your test. So in the days leading up to my test, I did lessons on consecutive days. That built muscle memory, confidence, reaction speed, consistency, and 1 week before my test, I went full immersion mode. Every single day, I watched driving videos, revised my notes, mentally practiced situations in my head like a simulation, reviewed mistakes for at least 2 hours a day. Yes, it is hard work, but it's worth it. And the final day before my test, I think I revised driving for like 5 hours, Driving was literally the only thing my brain could focus on. But honestly, that deep focus really helped me. So if you need to take annual leave to reduce distraction, fully lock in for a week, do it. It's worth it. On the day of my third test, I was definitely very nervous, but I remember telling myself I have genuinely done everything I possibly could. I practiced properly, I revised, I learned from mistakes, I prepared fully. There was literally nothing more I could have done. And honestly, I just prayed and said, please God, help me today. And finally, I passed. Third time, and honestly everything aligned perfectly. The examiner was really friendly, the weather was sunny, roads were calmer, and my test was at 10:30 a.m. instead of rush hour. My earlier tests were around 8:30, and honestly rush hour is brutal. People are impatient, nobody lets you out. Everybody feels stressful. So if it's possible, try getting a quieter mid-morning slot and avoid rush hours. Examiners are very strict. Driving is a serious thing. This is not a joke, but you can absolutely do it. Focus, practice properly, learn from mistakes, don't compare yourself to others. People have different pace in learning driving. So when I first started, I thought with 30 hours I can literally do this, but I couldn't do it with 30 hours. It literally took me 70 plus hours. Some people pass first time, some pass third time, fourth time, fifth time. Some need over 100 hours. Who cares? The goal is becoming a safe driver. And this is very important. Remember that your theory certificate only lasts about 2 years. So you need to pass practical before it expires or redo theory again. So within 2 years, you have to do everything. Okay. And yes, I think there are intensive driving courses where people pass in like 1 or 2 months. But personally, I wasn't in a rush. I built my skills gradually over time, just like any other skill that I built in my life. I think that made me a calmer and safer driver in the long run. That was my full UK driving journey, from being terrified to even start to finally holding my full UK driving license card in my hand. And if you're currently learning, please don't give up. One fail does not define you. It's not easy to pass the first time. Even 2 fails do not define you either. Keep improving, keep practicing, keep showing up. Your pass day will come, I'm sure of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you pass your test, no matter how many attempts you do, but I really do hope the best for you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!